before you have a house, a dog, and a cat, and what have you, and children. The second is make a difference in your life. What's the point if you don't do things that really do make a difference? And I'll talk about that a little bit. And the last is giving back. So, a career lasts 100 years, wow. Most of my generation thought that we would get a job when we graduated, and that would be the job we would do for the rest of our lives. That's what we were told in university. And it didn't work out that way though, because technology kept changing. And my generation, we found that we were being threatened by it, and in other ways, it was a great opportunity. But it's okay, it all works out in the end. But we grew up with a very different expectation than you. So let's talk about taking chances, because chances is about change and change management. And Winston Churchill once said, to improve is to change, and to be perfect is to change often. So many of you have chosen a career in engineering, and change is at the very essence of what we do as engineers. So that must mean you have the perfect degree. I like to think that. But change is very unpredictable, and it's very organic, and it follows a meandering path. It's not a logical, linear thing. But that's okay, because it would be pretty boring if everything could be reduced down to an algorithm. It probably is an algorithm, it's just our CPU can't figure it out yet. But enjoy the change, because it's going to be upon you, and you won't have any chance anyway. So let me give you two examples of what happened to me when I was your age, about things that I took chances on that I didn't realize later would be so important. So I was born in Hamilton, where the steel mills are. And I went to school and worked while I went to school to pay for my tuition. And I got a job working for Trevor S. Dodd & Son on Dundurn Street in Hamilton, and it was an auction house. And I would hold up the items being auctioned so that everyone could see them. And I watched people bid on everyday items like tables and chairs and toys and what have you. And I watched people get caught up in the excitement of that. You would think of this today, you know, whether it be on Amazon or Kijiji, etc., but it's the same principle. And I watched people get so caught up in the excitement that they would actually pay more for a used chair than it was worth new. So I would always look over at the face of the auctioneer, and he would have this bemused smile on his face, because he knew that that was going to happen at some time in the night. So at the time, I thought that that was just a job that gave me enough money to pay for my tuition. But what I didn't realize is that while I was doing that, I was observing human behavior. And later, when I went into business, almost everything that I did was in some way an auction, whether it was on the stock market, mergers and acquisitions. Those are actually a big auction. And what an advantage that job gave me. So here I was thinking, well, I was just doing a job, but it taught me so much more about human behavior than I ever got from any of the degrees. Your degrees have taught you nomenclature. They've taught you to have confidence. But seeking out those experiences where you can learn about human behavior, that becomes very important. And in my lifetime, that was the difference of millions upon millions of dollars. Now, as I mentioned, when I was your age, I was a geek, and I wanted to meet girls. But I was a math and sciences person, so back in my day, and it's wonderful to see so many females here in the graduating class, it's wonderful. But in my day, it wasn't like that. And so I took typing class, because back then, all the girls took typing. And all my buddies were trying to figure out how I knew so many girls that year, because I had taken typing. And now typing, for those of you that don't realize, it's sort of where you take a computer and a printer and merge it together in a mechanical way. So I'm not sure that some of you know what a typewriter is. So at that time, we didn't have PCs, we didn't have smartphones and what have you. And when the PC came, all of a sudden, if you knew how to type and you could do 80 words a minute, you had a huge advantage. And what happens is no one ever goes back to learn typing. So for about 10 years, I had an advantage on all my buddies because they were hunt and peck and I could type. But there's also something else that you should take away from that story, because the BlackBerry then arrived. And I did not take the thumb class. And you basically did everything with your thumbs. So that advantage that I had from taking typing was lost within 10 years. So there's a lesson there that sometimes you'll get an advantage by something in life. It's fleeting. Those advantages do not last forever. So let's talk about making a difference, because you have a special role to play in the world. Your generation will make a huge difference on humanity going forward. And the reason why, you're the first digital generation, so-called digital natives. It's amazing, but you have to realize that a teenager born today in Africa that has access to the internet through a smartphone has more information than the President of the United States did 15 years ago. That's a pretty heavy thing to think about. That's what's going on for your generation. You're part of a generation which has an extended brain. Many of you cannot remember a damn thing. And your parents, drives them up the wall. But the reality is, you don't need to, because you have smartphones. And the CAT scans of your generation's brain show that all three regions of your brain associated with memory is much smaller than my brain. So you really physically don't have that capacity. However, you have something that I do not have. You have right brain, left brain connectivity that's almost triple the size of mine. And so when you tell your parents that you're, chatting on the phone, you're doing your homework, you're watching TV, and you're doing something on YouTube, etc., you really are. It's just that your parents can't imagine that because they're not able to do that. So you're the generation that will set the standard for the digital world. That is a huge responsibility for all of you, because as you move in to positions of authority, whether you be engineers or you be managers or business owners or policymakers, what you do and how you reconcile all of that digital knowledge and that access, you'll set the standard for all the generations to follow. Because digital only switches once, and you're that generation. It's an exciting time for all of you to be able to do that. The last thing I'd like to talk about is giving back. Don't wait for the end of your career to give back. That was a mistake I made. Give back during now, whether as an alum or whatever communities you go to. There's a lot of really great reasons for that. You're going to be busy, of course, building your career, your family, etc. But you can give anything, your time, your money, your network. Don't wait, because it is the most fulfilling and satisfying thing you can do. And I hope all of you discover that a lot sooner than I did. So let me close by saying there's no such thing as a bad job. You will learn from any job you take. I had lots of those jobs that I thought were pretty simple, yet each one of them taught me something. Well, that's it for lectures. I hope you enjoy your day and that you remember to take chances, make a difference, and give back. You're a special generation, so take advantage of it. Thank you.